All right, welcome to the Pure 21 podcast, and today's going to be fun because we're going to play a little bit of Eat This, Not That. Kayla Hansmann is here, our fabulous dietitian. Kayla, how are you?
I'm doing well. I'm excited for this game.
Okay.
Wish we could taste test along with it, but that's always on
Okay,
the
well,
docket.
we are doing that next time, for sure.
Yes.
Okay, so tell our listeners a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I'm a registered dietitian or nutritionist, whatever you want to call it, here in Cincinnati, and I love cooking. I love being in the kitchen. I love taking recipes and either playing like Chopped or, revamping them and just exploring what you can do to make things taste good. So,
all right. We all intend to make the right choices, but sometimes it's hard. And the thing about the Pure 21 Wellness Challenge is there's a lot of habits like coffee creamer and, adding a little cheese to this that we've got to cut out for this full reset. So I kind of want to talk to you today about what are some good substitutes, because we don't want it to be hard and we don't want people to give up and feel like their food doesn't taste.
Yeah,
but there's
missing
ways,
something.
Yes,
yeah.
exactly. And there's always an answer, right?
Right, absolutely.
Okay, well, let's start with coffee creamer.
Okay,
so if you are adding like a little, what are some healthier substitutes that you can add to your coffee to add a little flavor?
Yeah, so one of the off the get-go is stevia. I think that's, one of the routes that I will often go to when I'm, again, in the Pure 21, cutting it back is just stevia.
Okay, so what, for people that don't know, what is stevia?
Stevia. So it is a natural sugar replacement, and it's a natural source. So it comes from the stevia plant.
Yep.
You might also see that as Truvia. It's the same. It's coming from that same, for lack of a better word, plant.
Okay.
So it's not providing any caloric density, but it's not a sugar alcohol or an artificially processed sugar sweetener. So that's my number one. I'm all for people, sprucing up their coffees a little bit, but, take it back to, the reason you're drinking the coffee.
Right.
Do you need the caffeine, or are you just drinking it because that's like your crutch in the morning, your habit in the morning? So if you can do without milk, maybe try it. Save that for something later on. But some milk alternatives that you could use in your milk are almond milk, coconut milk, nut pod creamer is a fun one. Yeah. So that could be something that you utilize. They're in grocery stores, supermarkets, pretty much all over Amazon, their own website. It's kind of an addiction. You can definitely try some different fun flavors there once you get along into it. And you can also do your whey protein isolate in your coffee. You could
That's
almost
a really
make
good idea. Like the
shake.
vanilla. Yum. Okay. All right. That's great advice. Also, I found I finally during COVID started drinking coffee black, and because I was always adding like a little, and I'm like, I can't do this anymore. Yeah. Like I've got to get a hold of this. So I love macadamia nut flavored beans.
Got it.
So that was enough.
Yeah. Find some,
like a hazelnut, a
French vanilla,
a French vanilla bean.
I'll sometimes just sprinkle a little cinnamon on the coffee grounds and then on my coffee.
That's a good idea.
So it gets all throughout. It's nice.
And is it just is it true that cinnamon is good for you a little bit?
It can help. It can help. I think the amount needed for like the super awesome benefit is bigger than what we would normally consume. Hey, keep sprinkling it. You could get there.
I love it. Okay. All right. So talking eat this, not that. All right. We don't want to have any butter. What are some substitutes?
Yes. Extra virgin olive oil and even coconut oil.
Okay.
Those would both be awesome. You can cook with them. You can bake with them. You can, saute things in them. They're both going to be an awesome, very, natural, non-processed source of that cooking medium that you might need.
Love it. Okay. And on the oil bandwagon, are there any healthy oils that we should be, like olive oil,
Yeah, so the extra virgin olive oil or the olive oil itself would be probably, the one that I go to the most.
Okay, and why?
Just, it's in its cleanest, most natural form, and it's providing some of the omegas that, we wouldn't otherwise maybe get. There's some other, like sunflower seed oils, avocado oils, but those are tricky because the smoke point can be a little bit finicky, and so unless
what do you mean by smoke point?
So when you're cooking with something, it gets to a certain temperature, it could start smoking, or it could have evaporate or burn your pan or burn your food. splatter your face. So unless you're pretty stringent about like knowing what those points are, it could just be.
Well, and for me, it's a little confusing. Like when you're standing there, I would go the olive oil too because do you pick the avocado? Do you pick the coconut? Like which ones? How do you know?
Yeah. So I mean, I think just keep it. You really can just keep it simple on this one and go for that olive oil. Go for that extra virgin olive oil. Yeah.
Okay, got it, on it. What about pasta? During the challenge, we're saying keep the pasta out, especially the first 2 weeks. What are some, cool substitutes that we could still?
Yeah, so zucchini noodles, basically any root vegetable that you can noodle up is awesome, or grate it into like little shaved strips or ribbons. Spaghetti squash is an awesome one. I know I've seen so many different great spaghetti squash bakes. The spiralized carrots. I think I've even
and they even sell them, actually, the spaghetti squash.
Yeah, already.
Into the, if you don't want to do it at home, you actually can buy it.
You can buy it. You can buy it fresh. You can buy it frozen. I mean, there's no way that you can't buy it.
Right.
There's probably going to be dried noodles someday.
Yes. More than likely.
Yes. So we've got, lots of different alternatives for that.
Okay, so let's talk dairy. A lot of people have found in the challenge that when they remove dairy, they start feeling better, that like their skin clears up. Like what's that about?
Yeah, so there is, I think definitely some association with even just certain milk products that are, maybe processed or gleaned from cows or dairy farms that aren't utilizing the most wholesome practices. So there can be some hormones in some of those products that are causing a little bit of inflammation. Dairy itself can be a little bit inflammatory. It can also be more prone to constipation in some individuals. So there's just, gastrointestinally and also just hormonally, we can have some improved benefit by either removing it or strongly decreasing it. So, there's again there's kind of a multifactorial approach to why we feel a little bit better when we scale back or eliminate that.
All right. So what would be some good dairy, like some milk substitutes?
Yep. So as kind of with our coffee creamer, we've got the soy, we've got almond milk, and then after week 2, we add the oat milk back in. That's another option.
I love oat milk.
Yeah. I mean, it's so good. It's very creamy. The coconut milk is great, especially, if you like that kind of coconutty tropical feel. I would say that I've also thought of like certain things, like when I'm using dairy, could I use chicken broth or chicken stock instead in like a dish or a soup? What's the necessity for that?
Applesauce oil thing.
Applesauce and oil.
I have been doing that. I am not a huge chef, but I have been doing that for years, and no one ever notices.
No one notices, or even like the banana could work, mash that up, utilize that.
And it's usually like the same, like you would take the recipe and use the same amount.
Exactly. Yeah, it can be pretty similar 1-for-1 on a lot. So it's fantastic. And then, for cheese, nutritional yeast is a great one, especially if you're, normally.
How does that taste?
It tastes. I'm trying.
Sorry
to think.
Put you on the spot.
No, that's okay. It kind of has like a Parmesan-y, like umami, like savory feel. I've used it in sauces where it tastes like the flavor that you add to it. So, for instance, if I wanted to do like almost like a cheese sauce on a pizza, I would take that and maybe some oregano, basil, give me some of those pizza flavors and kind of like whip that up together. So it's kind of a nice vehicle for some of those things.
Okay, now the bread. We want to cut the bread out, but what about for the people that love, they love sandwiches. They like the, there's ways around this, right?
There's so many ways around it. So one I just saw the other day on Instagram, someone was making a burger with, an egg and I forget what else he had on there, but it was sweet potato toast. So he used those as his buns.
Oh, that's a good idea.
I was actually just traveling to California and I got the protein wrap or whatever they call it, In-N-Out, where you get the burger in your lettuce wrap.
In the lettuce wrap, yeah.
And the lettuce holds everything together sometimes better than the bun because it's like an actual like
Well, and then you
wrap.
can actually taste the meat
and the good.
Because sometimes the bun takes over.
So much. So it's nice to kind of like actually taste the food that you're paying for. Egg wraps are great once those come in. Zucchini rounds, you can make like
So
zucchini
when do the
boats.
egg wraps come in?
So I think past But if you make your own,
yeah,
within the beginning, you could definitely do something like that.
Okay.
As far as some of the others, I would check the ingredients just to see if they have any of the other fillers in there that would be, excluded.
Okay, I got it. All right, so pancakes. I mean, obviously the pancakes,
Yes.
They're good in the Pure 21 book.
Yeah,
like
add a little, frozen fruit. It gets some of that juices going on there. The pancakes are, I think, a staple no matter where you are, what you're doing. They're fantastic.
All right, I love it. Okay, so are there any like other good substitutes that you've come across kind of in that you like? Like what are your favorite ones?
So I will say I'm a sweets girl.
Okay.
Just that's my thing. I blame my dad, but we also share that love of ice cream together.
Yes, a lot of people.
So for that, you can make your own with coconut, stevia, a little cocoa powder. You could blend up some almond milk and a banana, maybe add in a little almond butter or peanut butter there, or just honestly any sort of like smoothie that you put in the freezer for a few minutes before you actually take it out. And then you're like, my gosh, I've got ice cream or a smoothie. Another one that I was listening to another podcast the other day, and they were talking about, one person was kind of hating on cauliflower, and they're like, cauliflower is used for so much. We're overworking cauliflower.
I mean, cauliflower pizza, cauliflower rice, it's everywhere.
And someone was like, well, maybe we're just not using our other vegetables enough. And I was like, amen. We should be getting Brussels sprouts in this game, and kale needs to be, used in so many things. And so it's true. It's like
kale chips.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, I don't think we're overusing cauliflower. We've just gotten to a point where we're, like we said in previous podcasts, carbs are so pervasive.
Right.
So utilizing these vegetables is not, maybe it's unique. We've never seen them before, but it's not to say it's wrong. It's just, we're using, a little healthier, lighter alternative. So
and like sometimes you just want something crunchy, like to dip into the guac. Like I mean, jicama. I love jicama.
It's fantastic.
Yeah,
jicama, cucumber, get that little crunch. But
right.
So I think it's a lot of these things, like in the cauliflower rice, in the cauliflower as a crust. You kind of have to. It might take a few trials and experiments, but it's all in the prep. So I really like to use my broiler for things like that at the end to give it that nice crispness.
Oh, good idea.
Kind of change the texture up a little bit so it's not quite as watery.
I love it.
Certain things like that. But where there's a will, there's a way. Google is a fantastic resource. If you're like, how do I get my XXS to taste? There's so many different ways. People have tried it all.
Kayla, thank you so much. I appreciate this. Wait, I have one more question.
Yeah.
If you are kind of just about peanut butter.
Yeah.
So almond butter, like what's the best substitute?
Yeah, I think
and what do you look for when you're choosing a peanut butter?
Yeah, I think almond butter is probably the best from a taste, economic, and nutritive standpoint.
Yeah.
And I look for just the nuts, and maybe they add a little bit of oil, maybe a teensy bit of salt, but those two things aren't going to necessarily set you over the edge, but just what the product should be. For almonds, almond should just be almond butter, almonds in there. Same thing with almond flour, or some of the peanut butter powders. It should just be the ingredient itself. I have found a mixed nut butter at Costco that's really fantastic. I think it's got cashews, almonds. So it's a fantastic blend. I think it even adds chia seeds in there. So
nice.
Giving you a little punch of those omegas. So
perfect. I appreciate this so much. We love all these substitutions and all these suggestions. Yep. So thank you so much, Kayla. I appreciate it. Until next time.
Yes.
Thank you, and best of luck, everybody. You're killing it on the Pure 21 Wellness Challenge. Thanks for listening.